rights to those with criminal convictions. The Justice Department is looking to authorize a decades-old law giving individuals with criminal backgrounds an opportunity to buy firearms. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joining us. Jeff, so an interim rule published today in the Federal Register, that's a key piece to all of this. Tell us more.
So the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Dee Dee, has the power to restore gun rights, but the agency has been blocked from doing so under congressional appropriations dating back to 1992. This rule creates a pathway to process those applications, but instead of the ATF, the DOJ will now be in charge. Pamela C., a legal expert, tells us the interim final rule follows an executive order from President Trump last month directing a review of the country's gun restrictions.
The Second Amendment is one of the most important ones we have. Therefore, we need to have a way to reinstate persons' civil rights, which would include firearms.
According to the DOJ, the rule would open an appropriate avenue to restore gun rights to criminals who have proven they're reformed.
Yes, we want people to have their Second Amendment rights, but having a constitutional right is not limitless.
The limitations likely to be put in place for those with violent and also dangerous backgrounds.
Limiting it to those who are nonviolent, no domestic violence involved.
Madeline Somerville, an attorney based out of Georgia, says, in addition to creating a pathway for people to own guns again, this rule will also clear up some existing restrictions and regulations.
If there were any unnecessary roadblocks on the way to someone having their rights reinstated that really didn't make sense, they're going to try to get rid of that as well.
But before a final version of the rule is issued, the public will be able to give some feedback.
There'll be an opportunity for people to comment on whether or not they think those rules are good or not.
Now, groups advocating against gun violence are pushing back here. Everytown for Gun Safety issuing a statement saying that this move throws out decades of bipartisan precedent and is laying the groundwork to put guns back into the hands of violent criminals.
Some Americans with criminal convictions could soon be allowed to legally own guns. Let's see what you think about this story. The Justice Department creating a path to restore their Second Amendment rights. News Nation's Brooke Schaefer is here with more on this. Brooke, some of these people have been in legal limbo for years, but critics of this plan say it's going to put weapons in the hands of abusers.
Marky, pretty unsurprisingly, this move has people on both sides of the gun issue split. Gun rights groups are celebrating the interim rule this morning, with one saying that it would end the legal limbo for those seeking to restore the right to own a weapon.
The gun isn't the thing that's going out and committing the crime, right? It's the person. So if you've got such a dangerous person that you can't trust him with the gun, that person needs to be in jail.
But on the other side of things, Moms Demand Action, a group which advocates for stronger gun laws, believes making it easier for domestic abusers and violent criminals to rearm is a death sentence, they wrote, waiting to happen. Right now in the U.S., federal law says convicted felons can't have guns, and the ATF's ability to use congressional funds to restore gun rights for some has been blocked since 1992. But this interim rule was posted on the Federal Register Thursday. It could create a process for people with criminal convictions to get their guns back. It would give that authority to the Attorney General and the Justice Department. The DOJ said that the rule gives an avenue to restore firearm rights to people who no longer warrant such disability based on a combination of the nature of their past criminal activity and their current law-abiding behavior. As some groups advocating against gun violence expressed deep concern with these changes, the DOJ noted that it would be screening people, and it supports laws that ensure violent and dangerous people don't get their guns back. Marky?
Yeah, as with every firearm debate, this one is garnering polarizing reaction.
Hey, there you go. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahushai Ba'Shem, Rakah Kodash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Hashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. Also, I'm going to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. So today's video, as you can see on the screen by this news clip, Esau wants chaos in the streets, also to thin out the herd in Babylon. Okay, so government is pretty much saying, hey, all these criminals, convicted felons, people that have had, mass murders, school shootings, Yeah, all those people, hey, now they can get those guns again. And one thing I was thinking about while I was watching this video is that they say, oh, we're going to be screening people and we're going to make sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Right? And these people, it's only going to be for the reformed criminals. What these people don't understand is that these people that do these type of acts, they're not the ones in control when they do them. When they're out here committing murder, robbing, just doing all types of abominations, it's demons that are upon them that are making them do those things. Right? They are not the ones in control. So when they say that these people are reformed, hey, how do you know that demon is not going to jump back on that person and make him go even worse than last time? Right? That's the scripture right there. It talks about how a spirit comes, right? Ultimately, a spirit leaves your body. It's referred to as a house. Okay, and it goes around looking for another host, another person. And it says that eventually it finds nobody, and it comes back, to that same person. And it sees that his house is completely swept, and clean, garnished. Okay, there's nothing in his house, showing you, that person has had no spiritual progression. Okay, he didn't learn anything. He didn't, build himself up. So when that demon sees that this guy's done nothing from the last time I left, it says that he bringeth a 7 evil more spirits than himself. Okay, and the state of that man is worse than the beginning. So these people ultimately become more bugged out, right? And that's an example you'll see from people that knew the truth, knew the Lord's truth. Okay, the gospel, and we're righteous for a little bit, and ultimately fell off and went back into the world. Okay, majority of the people that have done that, you'll see that they're out here super bugged out here speaking all types of false doctrine, lost in the sauce, smoking black and milds, just gone because more demons are now inhabiting them. So the point, hey, demons are the ones that are making these people do these things. Okay, and one thing we know for sure is that as these days start, progressing more and more, shit's gonna get even more wicked. Right? It says that in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 12, it says, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Okay, and iniquity goes into sin upon sin. Right? So as wickedness keeps on flourishing, people are gonna get less of that lovey-dovey spirit. Right? They're gonna become more cruel, more stuck up, more rude, and ultimately thinking about themselves. Okay, and it's gonna get to the ultimate extent of people murdering each other for worrying about themselves. Right, let's go ahead and read that in 2nd Ezra chapter 16. Right, and that lines up with those demons. Right, as we go into Jacob's trouble, the left hand side is gonna turn up like we've never seen before. Okay, there's gonna be people out here completely out of their minds. Right, and that's the Lord's will. But the same way the left-hand side is being raised up, the Lord says in Isaiah that when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall raise up a standard. Right? So the right-hand side is also going to be increased. Right? We know that goes into the Lord performing all types of miracles and giving that spiritual power. So this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 17. It says, woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? Right, and this is Ezra seeing a vision of this coming judgment, right? This coming wicked world. Okay, and the key point is he said, woe is me, right? Destruction. Okay, who's gonna deliver me in those days? Right, and that's spiritual because Ezra knew that he was gonna be back in these times to experience all of this. Right, so he was saying, who's gonna deliver me in that day? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are set as scourges for amendment. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Right? So, the Lord is about to start turning shit up and judging people. But these people are still going to be wicked. They're still not going to turn from their wickedness, no matter how much the Lord it just fucks them up. So that's a scary thing to think about when you actually think about it. The Lord's got some people out here so hard headed that no matter what, they're not gonna change their minds. But when you go into it was a Second Ezra 15. That's why I couldn't find the scripture. Second Ezra chapter 15 and verse 15. It says, "For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." Right? And once again, this is Ezra seeing this coming, world being in complete chaos. He says that there's going to be people fighting each other and swords in their hands. Now we know that obviously, who owns a modern day sword? Okay, almost nobody. Right? The sword here is symbolic for a weapon. Okay, and the modern day weapon is the gun. Okay? When he said he saw people with swords in their hands, he's talking about guns. Okay, people out here running around a GTA style. Okay, purge style. Okay? It says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So, and these people are not going to care about their kings or princes. Going into your presidents, your senators, any type of authority figure, the people are just completely going to disregard it, right? Because it's going to be a survival of the fittest, right? The course of their actions shall stand in their power, right? So you're going to do whatever you have to do to stay alive. And a lot of people are going to resort to this, right? This is going to be one of the go-tos for a lot of people, right? Get yourself a little Glock, right? Glock 19, a little AR-15, AK-47, some type of piece, maybe the old Smith & Wesson, okay? These people are going to be looking for any type of weapon to defend themselves because they trust, in their own power. And, that's the most beautiful thing is that the elect are not going to need any type of weapon, any type of supplies, any type of knowledge at all, okay, on how to survive. All the elect need is pure, unfiltered faith. That's all the elect need. And, when you think about it, what we're doing right now, okay, as it says in Romans, how our light affliction is nothing compared to the glory that we shall receive, right? Paul said that this was but a light affliction. And, it's really true because the fact that, how are we being afflicted today? The Lord afflicts us in many ways. You might get judged with a woman. A woman leaves you, you're broke, car breaks down, you can't find a job, you get fired from your job, you get unhealthy, your body starts breaking down all of a sudden. But when you literally eat clean 24/7, multiple ways the Lord can start judging you, right? Putting that affliction upon you. But at the end of the day, it's a light thing, right? It's light because what's on the other side of the tunnel? On the other side of the tunnel is when we enter times where people are desperate and need help, the Lord is going to be on our corner helping us and giving us exactly what we need. Okay, and that's, worth more than you can imagine. Right? In that day, people are going to be praying, they're going to be crying out to the Lord, wishing that they had gotten right when the gates of mercy were open. And they would, in that time, they would literally give up their own children to go back in their past and serve the Lord. Because they're going to realize that, that was the only thing of real value. Right? The only thing of real value is the fear and faith in Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Right? These people nowadays are focused on the material things. But let's see what the scriptures say about the material. In Zephaniah chapter 1 and verse 18, it says, "Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of Yahweh's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land." Right? So, the material, the money, the nice house, the nice car, the nice Rolex AP, all that is not going to save you. It's not going to deliver you in the day of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai's wrath. Right? Because what is a car going to do right next to a nuclear missile? The car can't outrun the nuclear missile. Okay? And I'm pretty sure these bunkers in America, can't even survive a nuclear attack because they're just not deep enough. So, at the end of the day, what's going to deliver you? The fear in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Pure faith. So, it says in verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right? So, I always say, hey, your homie, right, your neighbor, your boy you grew up with, yeah, he's not going to give a fuck about, hey, your friendship that you've had your entire life when he realizes his ribs are touching. When he realizes that his daughter can't eat. His wife is complaining. And he's going to break down into the nearest house and into the house that he has the most knowledge on, the most secure, sack. And guess who it's going to be? Somebody they know. So, hey, why is all this going to happen? Because of the lack of bread. Famine. Right? Famine is something that we haven't really seen on a global scale like that recently. Okay, and that famine is what's really going to make these people go insane. Right? I've always said that once famine hits hard, we're going to see some straight savages. Right? Some straight animals, okay, come out of these people. Okay, that the flesh is going to be really turned up in that day. Right? Because these people don't really understand, okay, their own selves. They don't understand their own body. Okay, and how far the flesh will go to survive. Right? Hey, when all this collapses, if you don't got any type of spiritual sense, understanding that this is prophetic, you're going to do everything in your power to stay alive. That means cannibalism. That means eating your own family. That means eating shit. That means stealing. That means eating all types of abominable foods. Pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. Hey, in that day, if a nigga's hungry and he sees some pork, he's going to eat that shit in a heartbeat. But the elect, hey, no matter how hungry they are, they're not going to eat that piece of pork. They're not going to eat the piece of shrimp or crab or lobster. Okay, because those foods are abominations. Okay, and we'd rather die than eat those abominations. Okay, a perfect example of that was the story of the woman with the 7 holy children. Right, her children and her got all tortured, put to death by Antiochus Epiphanes in the Greek Empire for not eating a piece of pork. That's how deep this thing is. Okay, this is not no joke. This is not no fairy tale. No. Hey, you gotta stick to these commandments like it's the only thing you know. You gotta stick to these commandments. It's ultimately to the end. So, let's get this in Ezekiel chapter 7 and verse 15. It says, the sword is without, and the pestilence and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. Right, so going into your different scenarios, right, majority of people that are in the city, okay, are going to die of famine and pestilence, no food and disease. And the reason is because the way that food enters cities is normally through trucks, right, semis. And if you don't got no semis coming in, hey, the food eventually is going to run out. And that pestilence, diseases, is because of that close concentration of people. That's how a disease literally thrives. That's where you're taught, in any type of class, where you're taught is close proximity is where diseases thrive. So famine and pestilence shall devour them. And the people that are in the field, right, going into out here, in the suburbs, out here, out in the outskirts of the cities, these people shall die with the sword. Okay, because the difference between the people, in the city and outside the city is that a lot of the people outside of the city are farmers. Right, they have their own type of food supply. They might have a well, right, and you could live a long time. A long time was just straight water. Let's actually search that up. How long can you go with only water? 3 weeks, right? So, 3 weeks to find some food, that's not bad. So, those people out there got wells, got food, got animals, crops, they got storages. So they're going to be chilling mainly off the food and the diseases, right? No one around. And how they're going to get really caught is with that sword, right? Once again, the gun. I always think about in these movies, you got the white boys out here in the F-150, 5 guys in the back with shotguns, running around the suburbs, breaking down houses, looting. That's how mainly those people are going to get got. And that shows you right there that Jacob's trouble, okay, is ultimately a worldwide thing. Everybody is going to be tried in that day. You're not going to be able to escape it, and just go sailing smooth through Jacob's trouble. No. Everybody is going to be tried no matter where you're at. Okay, and thinking that you're going to escape the giant judgment, right? You got people that say, oh, since America is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles, let's go to Mexico. Let's leave America. But guess what? You might not be in a spot that gets nuked, but the Lord might make it where you get invaded by people, right? You get caught and you get tortured, okay? Famine, you catch a tsunami. You're over here in Hawaii, nuke hits, okay, and tsunami comes your way, and guess what? You're dead regardless. So, the Lord is real creative with this thing, right? You got to remember that He is the one that created everything, and He is the one that is going to judge you in creative ways. The Lord can get real creative with it. It says in Hebrews that it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. So, I find it real spiritual. This is a sign of the times that restoring gun rights, creating a path for people with criminal convictions. And what kind of smart, country? What kind of smart country would do this? It just makes no sense. But I'll leave it at that. Hopefully this is edifying. Without to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.